Hey there, how's it going? Cut up here, and we're back in the aviation Cessna 172 Skyhawk with the G1000 suite in it, the Garmin 1000, and pretty sweet plane. Not too bad when you're first starting out the whole career mode thing in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, since the Cessna 152, as fun as it can be, really doesn't hold much. But this 172 does, and it's fairly cheap still to rent right off the get-go. And plus, you know, you can fly it without having to do any check rides or anything right off the bat. It's assumed you kind of have the check rides for that. So, not too bad, not too shabby. Now, when we previously left off, let's switch back here. We had just done our trip from CYHM to like our little like newbie tutorial trip over here to KDKK, or Kilo Delta Kilo. Now, I kind of want to head, if I can, back to Charlie Yankee Hotel Mike to see if, well, we can cash everything in, and it looks like we can do the tutorial after all, in which case it might ask us to do a few things, and then we'll get a free airplane and, you know, some extra cash and stuff like that. So I wanted to see if I could pick up any sort of anything going back to Charlie Yankee Hotel Mike, which is the Hamilton Airport in, you know, back in Southern Ontario, right over in my neck of the woods. Once again, I am not saying where I live, but I do live somewhere within this bubble. That's all I'm gonna say. Somewhere that's a pretty big bubble, you know, somewhere from Windsor to Ottawa, somewhere around there. All right. Well, let's see if we can find. So we'll go to our aircraft. Go to the quests here. We will change this to CYHM, and we will query it again, and let's see if we've got anything coming from KDKK. We don't. So if we head back there, there's not going to be anything in particular that we're going to be able to pick up to bring back. The airplane that I really want to start flying, if we go back to change aircraft here, it's the Cessna 208B Grand Caravan. Now, this is a beast, especially for, it's an easy check ride to do, and it's going to carry a lot of stuff. It can go way higher. It's got a 25,000 feet versus a 14,000 feet ceiling. Its range is much greater, its endurance is much greater, so I'd really like to get back to our main airport so that we can turn this plane in and do the Textron Aviation Cessna 208B Grand Caravan EX. Oh, that's a mouthful to say. So I think what we're gonna do, it's going to lose us some money, which kind of blows, but I think it's time to start getting back to our home base and getting set up to do some serious cargo trading. So we're gonna go back here. Let's go to our aircraft, set up a flight plan here. Now we've got 40% fuel, which is more than enough, I believe, to make it back to where we need to be. Let's make it nice and pretty this time. I think flight conditions, weather, we're gonna do, yeah, let's do like scattered clouds, nice little puffy clouds sort of sitting around, stuff like that. Yeah, okay, and we're gonna change the time of day. AI off for multiplayer, we are good for that. Aircraft, we have the 172 Skyhawk selected. Let's do ATC options next. Now here is where we can do this. N6978Q. So we're gonna do N6978Q. Now you don't have to do that. It's just because it's got it there. I've just decided to. It kind of matches what we're doing. Call sign is of course going to be Ket Hup. And flight number, we're going to go back with the 1983. All right. Weight and balance. So if we bring this down to 40%, it should show us the range. If we do KDKK right here, see the range is huge. at 40%. So honestly, we're fine. We're going to be good for fuel for a while. We've got no cargo. We've got no passengers. It's just me. We're going to go back in here for weight and balance. This automatically adds a co-pilot for some reason. Not sure why. Going to do me at 190 pounds because this game it loves me. Okay, and we're going to be going back to Charlie Yankee Hotel Mike. Hamilton. We can do IFR, low altitude airways. Oh, it wants to bring us through here for some reason. All right, that looks pretty good. We're gonna do this. And then we'll confirm and go to fly now. Nothing to load, so it should say it right away. Destination Charlie Yankee Hotel Mike. Go to flight tracking. Yes, I know. No cargoes or passengers. Okay, so as it's in slew mode right now, it'll automatically take us out of this when we get actually loaded in. It'll figure it out. Once we turn the engines on, basically, it'll do its thing. So let's go into the application and let's hit fly. Okay, here we are at the Hamilton Airport here, and we are starting cold and dark. As you can see here, not too shabby. It's going to take a second to load in. It's going to be a little choppy until it does so. Could probably pre-cache this area, honestly. Anywho, Buddy's here for pushback, although I don't think we're going to need it. It might have us go out that way. I don't know. We'll see if he even offers it. Like, there's a guy there, but that doesn't mean the ATC is going to offer the pushback. So I find air traffic controller is still, even after the update, still a little borked. Anywho, this time we're starting cold and dark. I want this time to make sure I'm actually doing the checklist. This is, oh my gosh, this is a big checklist. Before starting, after starting, taxi, run up, before takeoff, normal takeoff. Oh my. Okay, so we only really have to like get to this stuff. Well, let's do the pre-flight inspection of the cockpit. We're going to go through the checklist properly this time and make sure we check everything off. Okay, so the engine is started. Looks like the Garmin system is still in the middle of the startup here. Oh, start to continue. There we go. One of the things we need to do is check the throttle by putting it up to 1,000 RPM. That's too high. It's hard to control. Whatever. Good.
Throttle.
Oh, it put it too high too. Okay, we were only supposed to put it to 1,000 RPM.
Adjust 1,000 RPM.
Sure, whatever. Check oil pressure. Oil pressure's going into the green. We're good.
Oil pressure. Check.
Oh shit, I didn't mean to click that.
S.
Verify slow
Check
charge
verify
rate.
Charge shown.
14, yeah. Not supposed to go more than that, right? No, okay. Low volts annunciator. Hey, we're good.
Low volts annunciator. Check off.
Okay, we double checked that the bus 1 and 2 are on, which I know they are already. We already had to turn them on in the previous
Avionics
steps.
switch. Bus 1 and bus 2 on.
Flaps up. It wants us to put the flaps all the way up. Now it'll yell us when we take off if we don't put the flaps down one at least, even though it's a really long runway and the 172 really doesn't need it, not for that long of a runway. But you know, it's like that. Taxi light as required. Boom. It's actually going to yell at us if we don't have the other lights on as well. The program's a bit like that.
Taxi light as required.
Okay, so we don't have to turn it on yet. Landing light. I mean, we're not landing. We will have to put it on before if we're under 10,000 feet, the landing light will have to be on.
Landing light.
It's gonna turn it
As
off.
required.
So as I'm taking off, I'm gonna turn it back on. Strobe and navigation lights need to be on. So nav and strobe, these both need to be on.
Strobe. On. Navigation lights. On.
Okay. Has us do the parking brake, test the rudder. We already tested all that. We're just gonna autocomplete this particular page. Okay, good. Honestly, we're pretty good. It started to move us forward because it undid everything for us. That's fine. All right. I think we're good. So this is not something I'm going to show every time when I do the cold boot. I'm just going to be like, hey, I'm going through the checklists. I will get back to you when I'm done the checklist. Okay. So next thing we're going to do, we're going to contact the ATC. Well, ground services. Well, let's contact them first. Request IFR clearance.
1983 IFR to Hamilton, ready to copy. Takeoff 1983 is cleared to Hamilton Airport as filed. Climb and maintain 6,000 feet. Departure frequency is 126.5.
Say so ahead of time before we even take off. I'm going to make sure I set this to 6,000. We're going to be going out probably around this direction. Actually more sort of the direction we're heading actually is the way we're going to be going.
1983, please acknowledge.
I guess I should do a read back, eh?
1983 cleared to Hamilton Airport as filed.
Make sure this is set, the CDI is actually set to what we're going to be doing for the IFR, the GPS.
Clearance void 30 minutes from now.
Excellent, okay.
1983 readback is correct.
Okay, so we're going to announce our taxi. Now, we don't have access to ground services. It's really weird. We have to, before we get clearance for the taxi, we have to do the ground services? That sounds backwards to me. Like, you figure, like, you wouldn't get taxi clearances until after you've already... No, like, you wouldn't get ground services till after the taxi clearance. So, if anyone in chat would like to let me know what is wrong with that, if my reasoning is wrong, like, is that normal? Like, do you wait to have a pushback, or do you do a pushback before you even get clearance to move into the taxi? That just seems weird to me. But yes, so we're going to be taxiing the runway. That's the other downfall of this, is it just says taxi to runway 24. It does not say what taxi lanes to use. It's just saying taxi to runway 24. Yeah. So I'm not sure which direction. I'm assuming, like, it wants me to taxi out this way, over there, and then runway out this way, I would assume, because that's the direction that we're supposed to be flying out of. This is supposed to be our departure direction. Yeah, it doesn't say, and we're gonna have to fly through Buddy here because we no longer have ground services. So yeah, the ATC is still all manners of screwed up sometimes. All right, it's all good. We're just gonna do this. So ATC, you're just gonna go away for the moment, and we are gonna take off the brake, and we are going to run right through this man because we don't really have a choice. So we're gonna go down here this way. Now, it didn't tell us to hold short of anything. I checked before we cross. We did. So I would assume normally we'd hold here, we'd check, we'd look back and forth. I'm gonna move right up here to like on the line. Okay. Hold it for a second. Check. Back and forth. No one there. Awesome. Let's give her again. Going to be taxiing down further. As this. Oh, it has us going down and all the way around? Okay, all right. And then the taxi instructions just kind of disappeared. That's cool too. Okay, so after our little, I guess, misadventure, we're gonna turn taxi lights off here. We're at the end of the runway 24, which is the original runway they told us to go to, but they didn't say how. And then instead I was going to 15, but I wasn't going to 15. I don't know. ATC is screwed up in this game. I might install. There's an application that's Flightsim to ATC or something like that's called. Looks like it gives you sort of like a better air traffic controller, because the one in the game, as good as this game is, as much as I love how gorgeous and expansive this game is, how you can fly anywhere, the air traffic controller's on crack. it's the best way I can say it. So yeah, I don't even know. I don't even know. That's all. I don't need that stuff on right now. That's all good. Taxi light I've just turned off. Turn my landing lights on, because if I keep them off, the OnAir Manager yells at me if it's off under 10k, and of course if you go above 10k you're supposed to. But anywho, whatever, that's fine. So for now, I'm going to turn my heading bug. I like to put my heading bug at first, since I already have a nav point set up. I like to put it directly out from the runway. So we're going to do heading select on. We are going to do, I think we're going to do flight level change mode on this time, but we're going to up our airspeed to let's say like around that for now. We can adjust it as we go. We'll see how it's not very windy or anything right now, so it should be okay. Normally I would set this off, but like I wasn't getting instructions or anything. Of course, we're going to put one flaps down, because OnAir Manager is going to yell at us if we don't. Make sure our parking brake is off again, and we are going to take off. Okay. Oh, it drifts. It takes a second to build up the speed just because you got those flaps down, but when you do, you're going to get lift super quick. Already, there we go. We can lift up. OnAir flight is timed. I don't want to go up too quickly. Okay, we can put the flaps up so we can start picking up speed again. Because the flaps really kill your speed, you know, which is not good when you're taking out, like the flaps are just there to get you that extra height advantage if you need it for the extra lift right away. But then when you start needing to pick up speed, you got to get rid of them, right? I don't know why OnAir Manager insists you always have to use them. Okay, so we're gonna go down a bit. Okay, we're just manually flying this for the moment. I realize the autopilot's probably perfectly fine for figuring all of this out itself, but I don't know. I'm just a little more comfortable flying it out myself. We're going to tune into the airport. Contact Buffalo departure, which is K-Buff, is right close to us. Now, before I turn on the autopilot, I'm going to have to take the heading bug off. Because right now, if I were to put the heading bug on, because it's set basically backwards to me, it would screw me up. So I'm going to make sure that the nav mode is going to be on. Okay, so now we've got flight level change at 71 and nav mode. We're going to turn it on, which I believe is this button again. There we go. So now it's going to figure it out for us, or it's going to completely screw us up. Holy shit. There we go. Sometimes that needs a little helping hand. Just tried to skyrocket us into space.
Buffalo departure Airbus November 6790 Papa is climbing through 1,300 feet for 12,000 feet.
Okay, so that's Buffalo departure, so they're probably coming from K-Buff itself, so it's not something I'm going to have to worry about. So I'm going to let this sort of get itself going here. Get ourselves nice and leveled out. Okay, that should be good. It should be leveling us out pretty good in the moment. We can lower the airspeed a bit. Say 65 will get us a bit more of a height climb, which I would be fine with. There we go. So we'll get this climbed up to 6,000. We're climbing this 6,000, so it will be good for a while. So the border between the US and Canada is right here. We're going to be going on this particular IFR approach, and I'm still learning how to read like the sky vector charts and everything, but taking a quick glance at them before I actually started the flight, which you didn't see, I probably should have showed it on camera. It did show that this is actually probably the proper approach to take by the looks of the charts, at least from what I'm reading from them. I mean, I don't exactly know what I'm doing, but so far so good. So far so good. So we are going to wait until basically we're going to get to 6,000. Once we get to 6,000, I make sure I have a proper cruise speed going on. Then we're going to look at some pretties outside the airplane. Well, we can look a little bit outside the airplane right now. Oh my, we just went through some serious clouds there. I had it on a scattered clouds, but I guess these are very scattered clouds, eh? This looks like it was a rain cloud we just kind of went through. So yes, that's a pretty serious cloud that we just went through. That's fine. It's just scattered. It doesn't look like it's too crazy. I like the little poofy clouds around. It's so pretty, so beautiful. We're at 4,500. I'm just going to skip forward a little bit, and then when we get up to cruise altitude, I will let you guys know, and then we're gonna look at some stuff. Just getting into a nice cruising speed. Just a touch more throttle. Okay, we can actually drop it probably a little bit more. I think I don't know if it actually said it on here. I think that's what that means, the glide 68 knots. I think that's actually what you should aim for as far as like a good glide speed. Let's drop the throttle a bit, which is going to force the AI, the autopilot, to nose up, which is going to cause our speed to drop. Because if you know anything about airplanes, you realize the throttle itself is not the direct control of your speed. The throttle is more the control of how much your plane is going to want to go up, believe it or not. The direct control of your speed is whether you're tilted up or down. Basically, your angle of attack is going to adjust your speed. Okay, there we go. Let us, now that we're at a nice, comfortable, with all the fluffy clouds, nice comfortable little cruise here, let's take a look and let's have a little peek outside, shall we? Okay, so here we are back in our cruise. We've had a nice little peek around, and I'm just popping back in before we land just to say how nice it is sometimes just to go outside, and just as we're in an area that I've yeah, it's always nice to be in an area that you've personally been in. Like this is Port Colborne. I've had friends that have lived in Port Colborne. I've spent a lot of time there myself. It's a tiny little place, not exactly the nicest place ever, but it's not a bad place. And it's so they had me go into the Cleveland connection, which is kind of weird, where they're going to be having me connect over to the Hamilton connection like super soon, I imagine. Also, before we do anything, we're at a nice held altitude. I can tone down the speed a little bit here. We are going to start lowering to probably 2700, 2500, 2700. Yeah, it hasn't told us yet, but they're probably going to have us lower. According to the charts, I believe the incoming flights should lower to 2700, if I have it right. I know I've adjusted the I didn't show it in the video. I had pressed the B key basically to automatically adjust this to the altitude that they had told me in here. They've mentioned it several times. Well, like here's an example of it. Continuous planned altimeter is 2992, which is what it's here, right here. I could adjust it here if I needed to. That'll let me know exactly what height I'm supposed to be at. Dropping the speed a little bit too much. Let's raise that a bit. Raise the throttle. Okay, so here we are. We are starting in our descent pattern. It looks like they're taking us into a direct descent pattern, so we're not going to be doing the circle around. And it's bringing us down to 3,900 feet right now. So we're dropping at a decent pace right now. We've got our throttle all the way in, all the way out, sorry. So that it's basically all the way down. No throttle whatsoever. And we've got it so that we, because otherwise we would be dropping so fast that our speed would keep going up pretty ridiculously. I've only got us dropping it at a rate of 1,000, which I think is more than enough right now. And we can see the runway in the distance. I'm just trying to get down to a decent enough height that we can actually get over to it without being too high when we land, or without being without being too high. So we're gonna fast forward a little bit as we descend and see what we're gonna do. You are 8 miles east of Hamilton. Yes, I am. I know I am. Okay, so we're gonna tune in on 122.90. I could adjust it over here, but it's just been easier to do it here. So we're gonna announce our position. We're not on our final leg yet, although now we actually kind of are. We're getting pretty close. I would say this is getting to our final pretty soon. We are probably when we get a little bit closer, say like closer to like 4 nautical miles, I'll probably say that we're on our final approach. We're still a little further out yet. Wouldn't mind dropping a bit more height though. Wonder if they'll yell at me if I do that. 20 to 27 is what I thought the approach height was supposed to be for this area. Not sure why it decided it's not, but we're gonna bring us down not too quickly, but quickly enough. Okay, so this is why you don't always listen to the ATC in this game. So it was still having us set out at 3900 for our altitude, but it was also telling us to do a direct approach, which isn't going to work. So we're with under 4. I'm announcing on final approach, and because the runway is right there. Now we're still coming in a bit fast, a bit steep, so we're going to put flaps down all the way, see if we can kill some of this speed. We're coming in way too fast because we're coming in probably a little on the high side. I should be relying less on instructions from air traffic control in this game and more on just what I'm reading off of the charts, because the air traffic control in this game is definitely leading me astray. Definitely leading me astray. So we're just gonna aim it right here. We're bringing it in. It's not an ILS approach, obviously. It is just me doing my thing. Here we go. Bringing it in and flare up.
Landed at Charlie Yankee
Nice
Hotel
and smooth
Mike,
landing.
Hamilton.
Why was it a nice and smooth landing? Because, well, once the autopilot finally kicked off for me, after several times of trying to turn it off, I just ignored the air traffic controller. And, yeah. Because from everything I've been hearing on the air traffic controller, because this is Hamilton Airport. There's a tower here, and there is an air traffic controller. And they should be telling me to break off to a taxiway, like right here, for instance. A little bit fast. A little bit fast. Okay, so then if I go over here and stop, maybe the ATC will kick in and actually give me taxi instructions.
Hamilton traffic Ketchup 1983 is clear of the runway.
See, I've announced I'm clear of the runway and they still do nothing. I can't request a taxi, nothing. I'm holding clear, like I'm completely clear of the runway.
Hamilton traffic
And there's nothing. The air traffic controller in this, like, it is just not good. There's a tower there. Let me look at that. So, like, there's a legit air traffic controller here. This is an international airport, and so it's not that it's like some tiny little airport. So if we go straight, we can go over here. There's parking over here. So I guess we're just gonna go straight this way, since, you know, there's no air traffic controller to actually tell me where to taxi and park at. Okay, so we're coming in here. This should be an appropriately sized spot for the aircraft that we're running. And of course, because the ATC didn't work properly, we don't have people like a ground crew or anything like that. And yeah, so that's about it. I have no idea. So we're gonna start shutting things down. I guess we could have shut all this down first, eh? Okay, we're probably gonna get penalized for that. That down, that off. We can throw you back in. That's fine. Throw you back in. Flaps are up. Key is all the way off. And I think we are good. Parking brake is already set. And we're good. We're shut down. And we are at our destination. Well, we go back to this. So cannot connect to OnAir server. Oh no. Little sort of tidbit of, you know, in case this happens to you, don't completely freak out. I've had this happen one other time so far, and I didn't end up losing the flight, which was good because it was like a 2.5 hour flight. So their servers are down, apparently. I am not able to connect to them right now. Hopefully this saves in the future. I believe it should, but we'll find out. So going back to here, thank you again for everyone that has joined me for the video. Better than my last video. I still don't exactly know what I'm doing, but I'm going through the checklists, and if air traffic control would just work with me in the application, that would be really nice. But thankfully I knew enough to check the charts ahead of time to realize what height I should actually be. So instead of being at an altitude of 3900, I was at an altitude of 2700, which was a lot better for the approach. 3900 was way too high. Anywho, in the future, one of my planned things to do, and I can show this in here actually. We are currently sitting here at CYHM in Hamilton Airport. What I would really like to do is start taking more jobs up here. Maybe get like a smaller bush plane for a while. Take some small jobs up to like really tiny airports. And eventually, like I've been up and around in these parts, starting to go like much more up north. As you can see from the satellite imagery, it definitely changes in color. But I would like to start doing maybe some like bush runs and stuff like that as part of the career, and then come back down to these centralized locations. Yeah. All right. Well, don't forget to check out the Twitch channels and the other 2 YouTube videos. I do lots of interesting stuff. And but I think it is 1:10 in the morning, and I would like to go to bed. So stay healthy, stay safe, and have a good one, eh?